Hey, what's up? Welcome to my podcast. Why aren't you more famous? Today I'm joined by Steve.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Just still good.
No, do your thing. This is the only podcast where the host asked if what the lighting I wanted.
Yeah, that's how you can tell that I'm new to this and desperately need a producer.
I take it as someone that puts everyone else before themselves.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
You have I'm actually now I'm forgetting who's because I just watched your special and I also watched Joe List's special.
Oh, sure.
And I feel like, do you have jokes about being a people pleaser?
Yeah,
he also
he
does.
had something.
I love his line of "Don't mistake my weakness for kindness."
Yes, yeah.
It's so funny. Wait, I feel like this is still because it's only showing one. Okay, I mean, I guess I can hear.
Can you hear me when I talk?
Oh, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, it's you.
There's like a weird reverb on me.
Oh, well, we should remove that.
Yeah.
Hello? Wait, why am I? It's you. Wait, now I see two.
Hello. Okay, I was like muted, and so I think it was reverb because it was just the echo coming out of yours.
Should we start over?
Nah, I'll just edit it. All right, that's good. Okay. All right. So now we're okay. Yeah, we'll start over. And welcome to the podcast. Today I'm with Steve Rogers, Steven Rogers, not Captain America.
That's right.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I just watched your new special yesterday.
Thank you.
It was great.
Thanks for watching it.
I enjoyed it. It was interesting because I know that I had seen you recently, and all the clips I'd seen from the special were relationship jokes.
You sure?
And I knew that
things had changed.
That things had changed, and it was interesting to see. To the listeners, it's a bit of a spoiler for the special.
Yeah.
So pause this, watch it, and then listen to
Watch
this.
it to the end.
Yeah. That you went through a breakup, and then you included the breakup jokes in there.
Yes.
And I thought it was cool to see because it's like clearly like newer stuff. And also, since the last time we saw each other, I also went through a breakup.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm
so
sorry to hear that.
Thank you. So I've been doing breakup jokes, and also it made that stuff hit a little bit harder.
Sure.
We weren't engaged, so it's not.
Yeah.
It's not quite as bad.
Well, there's no, as my therapist says, there's no hierarchy of complaints.
There can be.
Well, I think it's just like you shouldn't feel like your breakup is less than because it didn't reach this certain point.
Sure.
It's still painful. For everyone.
Of course. It's definitely, there's still pain in it.
Yeah.
But I guess, what was the decision to have those jokes in there? Because I was like, oh, he must have filmed this before they broke up. But
right. And when I'm on the road, I tell the audience that to trick them into watching it and then seeing the reveal. We went through a breakup, and I had scheduled the recording
right
prior to her telling me she didn't want to be together anymore. And first I was worried about the relationship, and then I was like, oh, I have a special coming up with like a lot of engagement material. And, it was produced by two big comics, Nate Bargatze and Brian Regan.
I've heard of them.
Yeah. So I couldn't cancel the recording. I'm like, I have all these people involved that are being kind to me and giving me their time and their resources. I'm going to stick to the plan, do it on this, everything as it was already scheduled. And I was on the road a lot. Running the material, and I was like, well, I don't like lying on stage. I don't like being anyone. I don't like stretching the truth or anything like that. So I was like, I guess I'll do the material, and then as the checks drop or whatever before I close, I'll run this breakup material that I was only telling for two reasons. One, to start the process of getting through this horrible situation, and two, to tell the truth. Be like, hey, the reason you saw me talk, like I was still in an engagement was because I have this thing coming up, but here's what's really going on. And the audiences were like really into it, and they liked someone being like, hey, here's the truth. And they I would just go up there with stuff I wrote that day. And I was journaling because I was sad as hell.
Yeah.
Not because I was like, let me be the breakup guy. I was like, I'm hurting, so let me write about it. And then there was some stuff that was, I kind of found funny, considering how much in pain I was. And I found people related to it more than I expected. And it was... because it was so fun, I was like, what if this is the ending? This moment of revealing it to the audience and saying, this is where I'm at right now. And it kind of became really fun to do every night as sort of like a little trick. And I was like, let's just put it in there. And that became the ending of the special.
So how many times did you run the like exact hour that is the special, including the
breakup,
the breakup stuff at the end?
I found out it's coming on a year. I found out on July 2nd that we were not gonna be together any much longer, and then I recorded on October 10th and 11th. So. Whenever the next time I was on the road after July 2nd till October 10th and 11th.
Okay, so it's, wow, I'm just thinking, because I'm also somebody where like I have a hard time lying in my stand-up.
I don't like it.
As well, and I'm just imagining like, it's good that you had enough time that it's not like, oh, I gotta do this taping in a week, and just like, but it's also, I'm like, damn, that kind of sucks to just be doing like, jokes about your relationship that just ended for like 3 months, really?
Yeah. It was, telling it on stage didn't suck as much as it did once I got off stage, you know?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
like,
of course. Yeah.
Telling the breakup material is actually...
Well, the breakup material I find for myself very cathartic. I'm saying telling the jokes about like...
Being engaged.
Yeah,
I didn't care for that.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I dropped those leading up to the recording going, those are ready.
Yeah.
Also, they pain me to say.
Yes. Yeah.
And in fact, I'm someone that loves to break away from the act and be in the moment. And I had to stop myself from doing a little bit of Jim into the camera during my special, during that material. I had to give that material its due, tell it, get it out there. And I'm telling you, the last time I told it on the show that we were recording, it was so great to not have to say it again. And I care very much for the person, my ex, but like, it was just like, I was so excited to not have to talk about that anymore.
Sure, of course. I mean, and that is a nice thing about having the special like already booked, I think, is that, you get to put down these, like you're already going to be done with the jokes at some point.
Right.
And you get to like have a reason to like, you put them out there, but you're also done with them.
Yeah. Very excited to be done with them. And it was... a very cathartic experience, for sure.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And so this is your second special?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. My first special was just me before he was super, and then Half of We is the one that just came out.
Both good names.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I like Half of We. Before he was super, I like too, but Half of We just was going to already be the title. Because I have a joke with that in there, and then it became a breakup special. So it just kind of became...
And that's, and it fits perfectly because now it is like, it's one of, she did you a favor, like artistically.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I didn't thank her in the credits because
that makes sense.
yeah, but she did me a big favor.
How long were you guys together?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
We
two?
were together for 3 years.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Still, I mean, that's
and it's it's the longest relationship that I've been in, and we didn't live together, but it was like, it was kind of, I think it was getting to the point of like, this wasn't why we broke up, but it did feel like it was at the point of like, you either move in together or break up. Like
Sure.
it was that sort of stage of the relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
What's wild about relationships, and it's also what's great about them, but the more you advance, it's like the higher you go up. But then if you break up, you drop that much down.
Yes.
So it's like the higher you go, the worse the fall is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's painful.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, I just saw her yesterday for the first time in 2 months since we broke up. It's
we're in my ex's neighborhood right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never walked through a neighborhood like Vietnam before. This one, I wear a canoe over me, and it's just my feet moving.
And she's a comic. Am I allowed to say that? You guys?
Yeah.
It was like public. Knowledge. Yeah.
Comedians know.
Yeah. That. So have you haven't been on any shows together since?
No.
Probably enough bookers.
Yeah. Everyone's good about it.
Yeah.
Including. I think we do a good job at staying away from each other, and we don't hate each other.
Sure.
But it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Got to give everybody their time.
Had you dated a comic before?
No. And it's fun because you understand each other. You understand each other's way of doing things, and you respect their pursuit of comedy. But yeah, I think I'll take a break from that as well.
Yeah, I have a friend who just went through a breakup with a comic, and he said the same thing.
Yeah, it's everything. Every relationship comes with something, so it's if you're willing to work it out.
Yeah, that's how old are you, by the way?
I'm 33.
You're 30, dude. That's how old I thought you were.
Really?
That was my guess. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Is that good?
I mean, you look 12. Like you don't look that. I was like, I know you're older than you look, but I was like, how much?
I turned
older?
33 like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And when did you start doing stand up?
January 2013.
January 20. So you were like
20.
20? Yeah, okay. I was also 20.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
January of 2017.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, I do have all the things I need to do your age, and I can't do it.
I'm 28.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
So you've been doing it for over a decade now, and you started
I started in Syracuse.
Syracuse, that's what I thought. Yeah. Did you go to school there?
I went to community college. I knew I was going to do stand-up. I also didn't have the grades to get into any good school. But I did community college because I thought you were supposed to just do something. But I was already like starting to pursue stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a similar. Yeah, I was in regular college, but it was a similar thing of like I was really just there because I was like I don't know what else to do. And
where'd you go to school?
University of Vermont.
Oh, I knew that. Yeah, I knew you were a
so
Vermont guy.
Yes, I'm not from Vermont, but that's comedically I am.
That's right. That's where you started.
Yeah.
Nice.
Were there any other like New York comics that started in Syracuse with you?
Samantha Ruddy was in Syracuse. She went to school there, I believe. I'm almost positive. And then AJ Foster, who used to live here, now he lives in LA. And I think that's it for New York. Yeah. Not a lot of us moved here.
What was the scene like?
It was kind of sparse. Like you could get up. There was always like 2 mics, and then one of them would die, and then it was just constantly like that. and you'd have to drive to Rochester on Wednesdays. Buffalo also had a good Wednesday. You'd have to drive somewhere that was over an hour and a half in order to get up more than once in the central New York.
Yeah. So how many times were you getting up when you first started?
I was doing it once a week, and then I remember someone being like, "You cannot get better on once a week."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, good to know." And that's when I started driving to these other cities, and I'd probably get up 3 or 4 times a week. And if I hosted at the club, the Funny Bone, you could get up 7 times a week because there was 5 shows, or something like that. Yeah, 5 or 6 shows a weekend.
So this is a somewhat similar ecosystem to what
To
Vermont was
yeah,
like. Yeah,
yeah,
very much. Especially also like being, I was in Burlington, so like a college town.
Yeah.
So, and then when did you move here?
2017, I moved here, and I've lived in Astoria almost the whole time, except for 1 year.
Where'd you live that year?
Bed-Stuy, near the cupboard.
Oh, okay. That's where I lived when I first moved.
Yeah, it was very close to the cupboard.
Yeah. And when did you get into comedy? Like, was that like what you wanted to do?
Right away. This is kind of cool, actually. Wendy Liebman. Do you know who Wendy Liebman is?
Yeah,
She's really great.
I know the name.
She's a killer comedian. She had a HBO half hour, and I think my parents had it on or something, and I watched it, and she's just like so sharp and like really good misdirect, and just like,
is there a Mr. Direct?
Amazing. And just like a machine gun of jokes, and so I was like, well, whatever this person's doing, I want to do that. And cut to like this month. Wendy Liebman followed me on Instagram.
Wow.
And I wasn't gonna say anything, and then I like just shared one of her jokes, and I was like, I'm a big Wendy Liebman fan because I think she had a special come out or something. And then she DM'd me, and she was like, "Hey, I just watched all your stuff. It's really funny." And then I just like immediately fangirled on her. I was like, wow. You're so great. You're the reason I do comedy. And yeah, it was awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you were into comedy, like, what would you say your first, like, exposure to it was?
Like her half hour and, like, comedy movies that my parents were watching. I remember my parents watching Insomniac and David Tell's show. And they were, like, if they were watching comedy, I was watching it with them. And then I was just like, what is this? This is amazing. And it was also, it's like, wild that what was happening on that side of the TV was like changing the room that I was in, and I was just like, this is crazy, whatever this is, and yeah, just got hooked.
So who were your favorite comedians early on?
Wendy Liebman, Ray Romano, Ellen DeGeneres, Brian Regan, Rodney Dangerfield. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of, and then like Blue Collar, I don't know if it came out around that time or I discovered it. Like that was middle school, high school. No, like maybe earlier. I just kept downloading as much stand-up as I could.
I doing the same thing.
And Jim Carrey, but I didn't know his stand-up. His movies were unbelievable.
Yeah, that's how I felt with like Robin Williams, who actually I love his stand up also, but I remember getting into his stand up later. It's funny, I remember I was in like 5th grade and I would like download stand up from LimeWire.
Oh,
and
wow.
I remember downloading an entire Lewis Black album.
Oh my God, Lewis was one of them too.
He's great, but it's so fun because I'm like this 11-year-old kid just listening to like Lewis Black talk about like the Iraq War, and I'm like, I don't even know what he's talking about.
But his like Dick Cheney shooting that guy joke. It's just unbelievable. Like Red, White, and Screwed, I think, is the special, and it's just so good. His half hour is incredible, and there was someone else I was just gonna. Oh, Dane Cook was out when I was in middle school, and just like, what the hell is this? It was amazing time to just like discover all these comedians.
Right. Yeah.
Fantastic. experience.
And this was before, because I mean, like, I feel like now, like, comedy's just all on, like, Instagram, you know?
Right.
And so it was like, I feel like we sound like old now, but it's like, being like, it was like, this was like a cooler, like, you felt cool discovering comics that, you know.
I think it's, you know, it's the same thing then as it is now. It's just whatever, you know, it's always going to be a different platform.
Sure, yeah.
But the feeling of discovering a funny comedian and then, like, especially if they have a catalog of stuff and you can just binge all of their work, there's nothing like it as a comedy nerd. You know,
I feel that way. Yeah. That was something I started doing when I like first started doing stand up in college, and then when I moved here, where I would just find like different comics and just like listen to their full discography.
Yeah.
In chronological order, just to like hear how they changed and got better. And it's also, it's especially for comics who are like a little bit more autobiographical.
Yeah.
It's, you get to really know a person.
You really do.
Through that.
You really do. I mean, that's the thing too. When comedy hit when personal comedy started being more popular, you know, because everyone was doing observational or whatever, or political. Nothing beats personal comedy, I think, because you're just like enriched in this person's life.
I think so, and I think that's why the breakup stuff I think does so well, because it is. I mean, it's the most universal.
Yeah. Everyone's been hurt.
It's the most universal trauma that there is, where it's like, because anything else, I think, like, you know, like my brother died, and so like I talk about that on stage sometimes, and you know, when it works really well, but sometimes the audience gets uncomfortable. Yeah. Understandably so. I was also uncomfortable when it happened. Like, but it's like, but I think because a breakup it's a thing where we all know it sucks. We all know it's terrible. Right. But we also like, it's so universal. And so I think that's been the material where, you know, now I've gone through like 2 serious relationships that have ended while I've been doing stand up. Yeah. And having come out of both of them, I've gotten good material out of it.
It's this used to be a more upsetting sentence. What the hell is that? Oh, okay. Someone tried to get into this.
I couldn't.
Weird.
That was weird. I guess the door is open a little bit, maybe? I don't
know. This used to scare me, this sentiment, but now I understand it and I find it beautiful. Is like the Buddhist expression, like life is suffering. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're not going to go through it. No one gets out of this alive. Yeah. So it's like we all relate to pain. And I'm sure you've gotten this, but my favorite thing is going on stage and talking about something hard I went through and everyone's with me. And the worst is when they awe.
Oh, it's the worst.
Because it's like you're not. Don't pretend that. One, I don't want your sympathy, and 2, don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You went through this, even if you're the one that dumped, if you've only been in one relationship and you dumped them, it hurt. It probably hurt you. We've all been
even
hurt.
People that have never been in relationships, most of the time it's because they're scared of heartbreak. Yeah. You know, and
everyone is familiar with the experience.
And the awe is, oh my God, it's the worst. Yeah. It's like, I even, one time I was on a show, it was like a variety show, and it was this long ass show. The person before me was a poet doing these beautiful poems about his dad dying. Mm-hmm. And then so I'm like, I just want to let you guys know, I'm also going to talk about a family member dying. Don't, it's funny though. You gotta laugh. Right. And then it worked. I think giving them that like setup, they were like, okay, like we know it's, but yeah, and then because you want it to be a surprise when it's a hard thing to make work. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying about how like the personal comedy, I mean, that is the stuff that does, that works the best. And I think that's part of why, that's why a lot of comics don't really like come into their prime until like their 40s. Right. When you like really start to have a lot of life experience and just know who you are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's that Nate Bargatze. Either make it a 20 or 40.
Yeah,
And it's
that's so
like
true. Yeah.
people that just popped off right away because they just found it, and then what you're saying, people that went through life, living their lives and getting better at comedy, and then at one point they intersect.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of Nate, let's how did that start? And Brian Regan, who you said was one of your early favorite. Like how did you start opening for some of the biggest comics in comedy?
Brian saw me at a comedy festival in Jamestown, New York, when I still lived in upstate in Syracuse, and he did a show on the festival, and then came and watched our showcase, and saw my set and liked me, and I've been with him 9 years. And then Nate, I had done Colbert and James Corden a couple years apart, and I was opening for Brian on the road, and this was before Nate was doing arenas or anything like that. And I was like, I really like his comedy. I've never met him, but I think I would be a good candidate to open for him. I'm just gonna send my late nights and say, hey, if you would ever want to give me a shot, I'd love the opportunity. And I sent it into his website. He had like a contact me website thing, which is, back when, like, all comics have a way to reach them through their website until they're gigantic comedians.
He was living here at this time?
No, he was in Tennessee.
He was already in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just sent it in because I believe, there's a million of me in comedy, and no one owes me anything. No one owes any of us anything.
Sure, yeah.
So you have to take some bets on yourself. And I was like, well, I'm clean. I have proof right here. Here's accumulation. This is 10 minutes of stand-up they let me do on television.
Right.
I'm sure his openers allow, do this much time. And then I also open for Brian. I have enough on my resume to get the job. And I was like, let me just take a bet on myself. And then a month or so later, Brian and I were doing a theater in Boston, and Nate was doing the theater next door. And after the show, because one of his openers, Joe Zimmerman, also opens for Brian. And I messaged Joe, and I was like, I wonder if we can all do like a group hang. And he's like, let me ask. And then Nate was like, come over to our show when you're done with yours, because I think ours started earlier. And we came over, and then we all played poker in the basement of this theater in Boston. And I was like, even if this is as far as it goes, and I was like, I doubt he saw the email. I go, if this is as far as it goes, this is pretty cool. Like, this is the story I'll tell forever. And we played poker together. I got some bits in. It was fun. And Zimmerman and I ended up just riffing the whole time. And at one point, Brian and Nate were like, what do you guys, like, we were laughing so hard at each other that they were like, what are you guys talking about? And it was like a fun moment. And then as the night was wrapping up and we were all saying goodbye, Nate goes, and we'll get you some dates for the next tour. And I was like, oh, I had no idea.
Wow.
I had no idea he knew who I was or saw the email, or if I don't know what happened. And then I've been with him, I think, 3 years.
Well, and I feel like that's a perfect example of like how to shoot your shot and stay cool about it, which I'm sure was hard to do.
Well, the only thing I feel is embarrassment if I overextended or if I crossed the line.
Well, but that's what I mean, where you stay cool about it.
Yeah.
Where like, you could have easily been like, hey Nate, did you get my email?
Never.
And it's like, but you were just like, I'm gonna hang out with him. We'll see what happens. Like,
yeah.
And I'm sure that made him like you more.
Yeah. I try to be a good hang, and also I love a hang where, we had one. I loved that hang.
That was so much fun. I think that was like the first time I'd obviously seen you. That was the first time I'd ever really talked to you.
It was so fun. Artichoke pizza.
Yeah.
And that's the night I met Shosh Brodman, who's become one of my best friends at this point. And she probably will listen to this and redact that statement. But Sam Evans, Micah Walsh. Who else was there?
Who else was there? Ethan Mead was there for a little bit.
Yeah, it just became a hang, and more people showed up at one point.
Yeah, there were. Elena Banfield was there because it was her show.
Yes. But I just remember being like, "This is why you do it."
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you do it to get laughs and tell jokes and write jokes and all that stuff. But that was a perfect night of like, it was just a bunch of idiots being goofy. It felt like no egos were involved. We were all just enjoying each other's company. It
was one of those shows because it's in the basement of Artichoke Pizza. So you go into, you're not like, I was not like, this is going to be a great show.
Sure.
But it turned into one. Everybody had good sets.
Yeah.
And there were actual audience members there. Yeah. And so you go, I had a surprisingly good show and got free pizza. Yeah. Mediocre pizza, but free pizza.
I'm not into their pizza.
It's not very good. It's some of the worst pizza you can get in New York, but that still makes it mediocre. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's still, but you know, and then you're like, and then we got to like just all riff after.
It was the best.
So it was fun and, yeah, so I think being a good hang does help you a lot in comedy. So what's the experience like been doing these arena shows though? Because that must be crazy because you go from, you know, doing mics and bar shows in the city and like headlining clubs across the country, and then now you're opening for huge comics at not just theaters but now arenas. Like, what is that like?
It's a very I don't know if I realized it until you just said it, but I actually do every single level.
Yeah, is there anybody else that does? I don't think so.
There's many people. I'm definitely not the only one. But and a lot of them are my friends. I'm going to try to answer this, and then also I get so passionate about this stuff, as we all do.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. Arenas are awesome. I prefer arena in the round the way Nate does it. I have done an arena where they're all in front of you that way, but in the round really eliminates that feeling of it being too big, as silly as that sounds. But by being surrounded, you're getting hit. Like, it's all aimed at you from every direction. Does that make sense?
It does. I've never performed. Obviously, never performed in an arena, but also never performed on a stage that's round.
In the round, regardless of the size of the room, is my favorite form.
Okay.
Because it really awakens your body. Of like, as someone that I want to get better at performing, I think I'm a decent performer, but I'm not a trained theater actor or whatever, and you know, I'm not someone that is I am animated, but I'm not like, you know, dancing up there. But when you're surrounded, you're like, I gotta start performing for the people behind me soon, and so then you turn around and tell some jokes to them, and you're like, oh, I haven't given anyone over here my attention, and it makes you aware of your surroundings. Whereas, like, if you're standing in one spot and you go, I just got to perform this way, you can relax a little bit. I think some anxiety is very healthy for your performance. So I like being surrounded. It makes me move more, and I think movement equals more energy and just a better performance, at least out of me.
Yeah.
Because I like to do act outs and stuff. But my favorite thing, or at least what I think is keeping me humble, other than the fact that I know no one in the arena knows who I am or it came to see me, is after I do a Regan gig or a Tom Papa gig or a Nate Bargatze gig, when I come back to New York, I do a mic so that I come back down to earth.
And see, that's the thing where I'm like, I don't think a lot of people do that.
Right.
There's a lot of people that they do bar shows and they do clubs and then they
Right.
open for bigger comics.
Right.
But it's the fact that you still go to mics when you don't necessarily like have to.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I really respect and I think sets you apart.
Thank you. I mean, one, I hope I never lose this feeling, but also this feeling stinks. We all go through it. Is I'll never feel like I'm doing enough. I'll never feel like I'm good enough. But I do think it's a healthy. I was just saying this to a friend. That's why I was on the phone.
Yeah.
I think that anxiety of I'm not enough is healthy as long as you don't drink it straight. It needs to be mixed in with believing in yourself, even if you're faking it till you make it, all that, and hope and love for comedy, and then a little couple drops of fear. And because I'm afraid of like, when I was in Dallas last weekend and only 10 people came to that gig. That if I want to have more people come see me, they're going to have to find out who I am. And the only way they can find out who I am is if I release another special. And I can only have another special if I have more material. And I can't be running new material on these opening shows. And I can't be doing it on headlining shows. And if I open mic it at a bar show, I'm being rude to the bar show. So let me go do an open mic. And where I've seen people open mic it at a bar show, and I don't think, some people understand it, and I'm not saying I haven't done it, but I don't know. I've never feel like mics are necessary.
No, and I think it's great that's your mindset, and I think that's part of what makes you such a good comic.
Thanks.
Because I do think there's a lot of people in your position who would go, well, I'm not going to I'll open mic it at a bar show or at like a club that I perform at.
Right.
Like, are there clubs that you perform at regular? Are you past at clubs in the city? Which ones?
New York Comedy Club, West Side, QED, Tiny Cupboard. Pretty much all of them except the Cellar.
Yeah.
And the Stand, I'm not the Stand's cup of tea. So, I'm not cool or hot.
Yeah. That's have you? I'm surprised about the Cellar that hasn't. happened yet.
Something like I auditioned and they said no. And would I do it again? 100%. Do I think getting rejected was good for me? 100%. It hurt a lot, but I mean, it's the same as a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
I think getting kicked around is good for you. It never feels good, and you do get angry, and you do think, why me? But getting rejected by the Cellar, maybe go, well, I have to prove to myself I'm a good comic in other ways.
Yeah.
So if it's not the Cellar, what is it? And then you chase that.
And so what was it that you decided to chase that wasn't the Cellar?
Well, it's like a lot of my friends work there, and I'm so happy for them. That the person that decides if you work there or not didn't like what I do, and I had to be like, well, does that person's opinion like decide if I'm good at what this is, or is it just they don't get what I do?
Right.
It doesn't mean I'm a bad comedian. So I had to go just focus on getting better at stand-up and noticing that I'm getting better, coming up with new material, and feeling like I'm growing as a performer, challenging myself, and focusing on what I can control.
Did you feel like you did well in the audition, or did you feel like I don't think I got it?
I thought I did well, and and also like it does help when people are surprised. That doesn't hurt, you know. But I think you have to get. That's a Mike Vecchione quote. Get your nose out of the way. Get rejected. Get people saying no, you're not ready. All that. because then you're like, oh, okay, I'm not done getting better.
Right. I mean, that's also, it's a thing with like comedy and, you know, art and entertainment in general is like, if you can't handle rejection, you can't handle, like,
Yeah.
you can't do it as more than just a hobby.
I agree.
What other stuff have you gotten rejected from?
Still chasing the Tonight Show.
And that's another one where you got Corden, you got
Yeah.
Colbert, yeah.
I don't take these personally. No one is out to get you. Everyone's doing their job, in my opinion. I don't think anyone's like, they want to have the best. And if I don't match that, then I've got more work to. I know the answer to the problem. It's get better.
Yeah.
And hopefully I get to do these things. But if I don't, there's two things to focus on: what you can control and what you can't. I can't control their decisions, but I can control getting better than the last time I got in front of them. So, like, as long as I focus on over here, this other stuff can happen. And so, do I want rejection? Absolutely not. But I put myself in the position for rejection as much as possible.
And this is a really healthy mindset to have towards it.
It takes a lot of suffering to get there.
Yeah.
And it's easy to remember to say it on a podcast and harder to remember it when you're experiencing it.
Sure, of course.
But I think we're doing the coolest thing ever. And as long as I remember how much I love it, and new jokes help me remember that the most, it makes all the other stuff worth it.
Yeah, I think the feeling of having a new joke kill.
Ooh, Mom.
It's amazing.
I mean, I did Ease Bar in the Upper West Side last night. Great show if you haven't done it. It's just the back room of a bar, and people come to this show and they're all excited. And I went up Bullet and I was like, I always make sure I do some jokes that are working currently that I'm excited about. But I had like a bunch of new stuff in my pocket. Like if they're feeling me, I'll give them one, and let's see if there's something there. And I did it, and they liked it, and when that feeling when they like what you're saying and it's new, and you're like, let me keep talking and see if I can just wind up with some more stuff about it, and we were just working together. That moment of connecting with them, it's the best feeling ever. Yeah. And I used to not chase that. I used to chase, XYZ booking me on their bar show, so I felt like I made it, And instead of having the best set, that's the thing I have to chase for the rest.
Do you feel like getting like other opportunities, like opening for these people and like being, on TV, like do you feel like that helped you escape that feeling of like, I gotta just do that? Like, do you think that gave you a little bit more freedom to be like, I have these things I can point at as like justification of like I made it? That
I used to, when I did, like, I used to hold on to those tighter.
Yeah.
And I still do a little bit, but my grip on them has loosened because it's like, I don't know if it's from the breakup or what, but I'm like just chasing new material.
Yeah.
And now I'm chasing like as many new hours as I can make. Am I trying to get a Tonight Show tape tonight? Yes.
Yeah.
And will I get it? Probably not. But I find trying to get Colbert was, when I got it, it was like, I'm so glad I did it. It's a memory I'll always cherish. But getting it was brutal. Like trying to get the tape, telling these jokes over and over again, sending a tape. This isn't it. That's not it. All that. You really got to want it. And I do, we all want it. But then after you've done it and you just get to do material for yourself and whatever your show is going to be, you're like, oh, my show is, I have more control, and therefore it's more rewarding a little bit. Or it feels better because you don't have to, there's no back and forth. It's just you're in charge. And then you're like, oh, I like this more.
Yeah. Did you ever do Conan?
No. I'm obsessed with him.
Me too.
I think he retired before I even did Colbert or retired around that time.
Yeah, I remember when that, and that was, I guess, it was like during COVID, I think, when it was announced. So it was like, I had just moved here a few months before COVID and then like moved back home during.
Yeah.
And so it was like just that feeling of like, God damn it, I'm never going to be on
No.
Conan. And I don't know if you have the same thought, but like when Marin announced the end of his podcast, we're having the same thought of just like, God damn it, just it's another thing.
and like, so if Conan retired in the pandemic, I had done Colbert, and I'm like, oh, I could still do Conan. Yeah.
And because that was the coolest one. Like, I'm so jealous
so good.
of any comic that got to perform on Conan.
I mean, now I just want to meet the guy for some odd reason. Like, I've hung out with Fallon a couple times, and it feels amazing.
Yeah,
and
just what was the situations of that?
He came out with Nate one weekend when we did Syracuse, my hometown. Nate was like, you're going to go last, but Fallon's coming from the Tonight Show. So he took a helicopter to a private plane to Syracuse, and was in a car headed to the show while the show was happening. They're like, do some more time, and hopefully Fallon's there when you get off stage. And I get off stage, and Fallon's there. He goes up, place goes crazy. He annihilates. He had great stand-up.
Yeah.
And then he came up to me after and hugged me. And he was like, that was so funny. And I'm like, yeah, here's the thing. I'm not saying, I have many friends that have done the Tonight Show. He's got to come up to you and say that you were funny on the Tonight Show. Yeah. He doesn't have to say it to you.
True. He could just walk past you.
He could have been like, hey man, and pretended he didn't see me.
Yeah.
And it's like, we get so, and I have to remind myself, I'm going to say this to me. You get so desperate to do this thing that you want to do. And for me, it is the Tonight Show. It's the thing I want to do the most. You can get that thing that you're chasing in other ways.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like what they say with relationships. Once you stop looking for a girlfriend, all of a sudden some girl drops her books in front of you or something. That's a high school reference. I should pick something older.
Well, that's who you date.
That's who I date. That's the one thing that's wrong with me is that's why I'm us clean comics.
It's true. It's true of some of the clean comics.
It is true of some clean comics, but not me. If you're 30, please hit me up. But or 29, But it's we're so focused on what we think is the way we want it to happen, and it's like, let go and just focus on being the best comedian you can be. Don't tell the audience what you think they want to hear. Just be authentic. Try to make yourself laugh, and work your ass off. Treat it like a job, and that stuff will happen, or it won't, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't matter. If I don't get the Tonight Show or the Cellar, and all my resume stays the way it is and that's it, that's a pretty great run.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm grateful. Do I want more stuff? Yes. But I think it's all like, do it for the love of the game, and the game will reward you, I think.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Was it a decision to be clean, or is that just like naturally
both? I had like.
Because you look like a guy who's never sworn.
I used to have a bit. I used to have a bit like that. I can't pull off swear words. Yeah, but I had like sex jokes in the beginning, but none of them had curse words or were even that detailed about sex.
Well, like what? Can you give me an example?
Yeah. Well, this one's been told by everybody, but I'm like every time I'm on stage, it's like the first time I had sex, I'm scared, I'm nervous, and I'm alone. It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like all your basic 0-1 binary early jokes. And I was like, this isn't me. I'm just saying what I think they want me to say. And then I realized I wasn't swearing. I was just kind of being clean. And also all the people I liked were clean. So I think I was just writing in that direction. Also, I'm obsessed with late night stand-up. And I was watching late night stand-up all the time. Conan all the time, Letterman all the time. And I was like, I want to do that as much as possible. So it just became the way I wrote material. I didn't want my jokes to have to change if they made it on TV.
So you've always been like a big late night fan.
I'm obsessed with late night, and yeah, I thankfully got to do it a couple times. And, yeah, that's what I wanted to do a lot.
Did you ever want to do anything other than comedy?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a zookeeper.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that?
Elephants.
You just loved elephants?
I love elephants. I love animals, and I just wanted to be around them. But it was mostly comedy. It was always comedy.
Was there ever like a different like art that you pursued?
No, I respect rock and music too much to ever try. I just bought a guitar in April and started teaching myself guitar, but I'm never gonna play for anybody.
So you never played any instrument growing up?
I played saxophone growing up.
I played saxophone.
Really?
And,
I didn't take it seriously at all.
I did not. I was in band from 4th to 8th grade.
Something very similar for me. And my dad made fun of me the other day. He's like, you would say you're practicing, but all we would hear is you just go, huh, and then that was like kind of it. Yeah. I didn't care.
No, and it's the like one of the coolest instruments.
It is very cool. I remember wanting that because I'm like, that's what the cool guys play in jazz or whatever.
There's the cool guys and Lisa Simpson. I do remember. I definitely think The Simpsons was part of why I wanted to play saxophone.
Mine was the owl on Sesame Street. I think it was Zoot or Hoot. No, Zoot is Electric Mayhem, which he's the saxophone player for the Muppet Band. And then Hoot, I think, was the owl that played the saxophone. And that's how cool I was.
Yeah. So what do your parents do?
My parents are retired, but they both worked for the county in Syracuse. My mom worked technical services, like computer issues for the library. And then my dad was building maintenance for the county. And and that was a thing too, and I give them all the credit for my work ethic. I just always saw my parents, no matter how tired they were, no matter what was going on, they were working. Mm-hmm. And they showed up. They didn't complain until maybe when they got home. But it wasn't like, I don't want to work. It was like, oh, it was hard to work today or something.
Yeah.
And not even that, actually. But I was like, oh, you work. Whatever you're doing, you got to work. Right. And thankfully, I had that with stand-up.
How were they like supportive when you started doing comedy?
Yeah, in fact, if it weren't for them, I think I'd be not only what I just said, but like I don't think I would be working on it as hard because I remember always saying I was going to be a comedian, and then my graduation party was coming up for high school, and my dad goes, "You should do stand up at the graduation party." He's like, "If you're not going to do it for your family and your friends, how are you going to do it for strangers?" And then so I did it, and I remember one joke. And
what's the joke?
I go, as you guys know, this is my graduation party, and I'm also pursuing a career in stand-up, so I'll probably be asking for money again.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And they pushed me, and they come to shows. They came and saw me a couple weeks ago in Rochester, and my dad flew with me to Grand Rapids when I did the club out there. They're very supportive.
That's cool.
Yeah. My mom wants to be my merch lady.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it sounds like our parents are very similar.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, my parents they're both very.
That's
very
great.
supportive. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's the best. I feel for my friends that don't have that situation. I also try to be extra supportive to my friends because maybe they're not getting it from other places. It's so easy. Not to name drop, but he said this to me. I was on an interview with Jeff Foxworthy, and he goes, someone told him, you know how you can tell if someone needs encouragement? If they're breathing. And it's like, oh, yeah. Just
everyone needs it, yeah.
Everyone could use a little bit of, hey, keep doing what you're doing. And I think it's the best.
Yeah. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. They're half siblings from my parents' previous relationships, but I don't go, that's my half brother. That's my brother. That's my sister.
What's your relationship like with them?
They're much. Careful. They're older. Was said much. Still did.
How much older?
My brother is 20 years older than me.
Wow.
And my sisters are both 15 years older than me.
That is a big difference. Yeah.
So, like, I will say I don't talk to them every day, but I talk to them once in a while, and we get along. We love each other, but we're in very different stages of life.
And so essentially, you grew up kind of like in an only child lifestyle.
Only child lifestyle, but youngest sibling, depending on the situation.
Which I had kind of, I mean, just because I just had the one brother who he'd be the same. He's the same age as you.
Oh, okay.
But so it was like I heard. I think it was Jeff Sheen had a joke about how like he has a younger sibling, and so he was an only child, and then he wasn't, and so I had the opposite.
Yeah.
Like for the first 16 years of my life, I had an older brother, and then after that, then it was like so weird. Then I'm in high school, and now I'm an only child, and it's.
Not to be insensitive, do you talk about that?
In my stand-up?
Yeah.
I don't talk about that specific aspect of it,
It's
which I
very
think that I should.
It's very
I think I'm trying to, it's hard because I'm trying to like write it out more into like something resembling a solo show just so I can have like a way to like run it as a longer set.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't work as well in like a 10-minute set on a bar show.
Right.
But because that's an aspect of it that I haven't really. I've talked about, the grief and having a brother who died in my stand, but the aspect of it of like it's weird going from having a brother to being an only child like that.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, so I haven't talked about that aspect of it in my stand-up, but it's something I want to talk about because I do think it's one of those things where it's like there's a funny to it. You know what I mean? Like
it's I mean, it's that Chris Rock quote, if it, like, I'm paraphrasing, but if it's interesting, like, that's already, like, half the battle.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know anyone talking about that.
Yeah, and I do think that is a big part of being a good comedian is being interesting. And I know, like, one of my favorite comics who I loved his new special is Gerard Carmichael.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And I think he's become kind of divisive lately.
Sure.
I think just because, like, he, came up as, like, he's, like, a really good joke writer and he's a great comic. And then, now that, like, where he was, for, like, the first 30 years of his life, he was pretending to be straight.
Right.
And all his comedy's about being straight. And then he came out as gay, and it seems like he's like, all right, I have to make up for that by being 100% honest.
Yeah.
And to the point where, like, it's just, even when he's not being funny, I'm like, it's just interesting how, like, raw and vulnerable you're being. And then, because then when the laughs come, they're better. Like, the laughs. I
completely agree.
And you have to have, like, some of that tension and build up to create, like, the best laughs.
I agree. I agree. It's authenticity. It I think it's a very dangerous path artistically that we're on, because especially with social media, not to be one of those people, but it's like you can see what's working on social media and be like, well, I got to go after that. And it's like, yeah, but those people are already doing that.
Yeah.
Be 100% you. Be the most you can be, and just trust it. And the people that find that, you're gonna love performing for them, because all you got to do is be yourself.
I 100% agree. And I think that, the whole thing, especially with comedy, is like, it's all about being relatable. And,
Right.
Weirdly, the way that you relate the most is by being the most specific to yourself.
It's a Rick Rubin.
That's a Rick Rubin
Yeah.
quote? I think, yeah, it's the more specific you are to yourself, that is the more relatable you'll be to everyone.
I don't know. I know some people that when they start, or when I saw them early on, I'm like, that person's going to be the best comic ever. And then they started writing towards what they thought that was supposed to be, like what the audience wants. And then they started to drop off. And it's like, and I'd watch them and go, but that's not who you are when I'm hanging out with you off stage. And then I would hear them complain about the stuff they're doing, or all that, and they would be seeing results. They'd be getting lots of followers and all that, and it's like, I don't want to be performing for people that I don't relate to because they think I'm this when I'm that.
Well, I also think, I'm speaking as somebody with very little success, so take this with a grain of salt, but I think that success, if it's not authentic, can be empty.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's like going on a date and you're telling the person that you're a professional skydiver, and then all their questions are going to be asked about that, and you're just like feeding this line,
right? Just to be the most impressive version of yourself, when it's like that's not what anyone wants.
Yeah, so it's empty calories.
Yeah,
they like you for something you're not, and therefore you want to keep being liked, so you give them what you think they would like, and it's like, I'd rather perform in front of a room and none of them get me, and now we both know we should never be in a room together again, and then I go find people that are going to like me somewhere else. I think you're maybe some people are chasing not bombing, so they're like and it's like, just be yourself. If it bombs, at least you were you.
Right. And it's there's an audience for everything. If you're good, then there's an audience for
obviously
everything.
Chase being good.
If you're not good, like it's just harder. And there's, which is also, like you were saying, there's people where you see them the first time and you're like, they're gonna be amazing. And then sometimes those people just don't improve at all. And then sometimes the people that you see where you're like, that guy kind of sucks. Yeah. Then they're like, I care so much about this that I'm gonna work really hard and get really good at it.
I agree. I definitely sucked for my first 2 years, and some people wonder if I'm 2 years in after hearing that. But and I have friends like that are still in my life that I thought were amazing comics, and they realized it wasn't for them. They stopped, and they're so much happier. So it's like, I remember thinking, you start comedy and you think this is how comedy works and this is how the world of comedy works, and you couldn't be more wrong. And there's many different ways to do it, and but the one thing is to just listen to this.
So what was it? What were your preconceived notions that you were like, oh, I was so wrong about that?
Great question. I thought being funny was the most important thing. It is not.
Yeah, that seems like the common answer to that question.
But I thought the opposite of everything I just said. Like, I thought it was you give the audience what they want. I thought it was you write about the external. And some people can do that, and they're great at it. But what my preconceived notions were for me is I have to be a comedian. I have to do what I think a comedian does. I have to write what I think a comedian says. And it's like, no, I just have to be me and be me funny.
Yeah, I think that there is something to that idea, like when you start of thinking like I have to be a comedian, and where because if you can understand what like the basics of being a comedian are, it's like how like they say like Picasso, he could paint and draw like technically perfectly,
yes,
but then he learned how to do it and he chose to break the rules.
Yes.
And I think there's something like that where because sometimes you see people who are just super alt right away and you're like, that's a funny person, but you gotta like learn how to do it before you can like break the form.
Yeah, there's maybe this is what you're referencing, but they have those. I've seen them on Instagram where they show where those artists started and where they ended, and it showed that Picasso could draw perfectly, and then he's doing it like this. And
the weird looking stuff, it's more interesting.
It's way more
interesting.
And just what you were saying about Gerard Carmichael, like he was doing what he thought everyone wanted, and he did a great job.
Yeah.
And now he's being him, and everyone's talking about it more. Everyone's watching it more.
The people that like it more, and the people that don't like it, it's not for them.
Yeah.
But I completely agree. Where like he learned how to do stand up.
Yeah.
And it's funny because with him it's like, because he was also pretending to be straight, it's like he was not just doing what he thought people wanted on stage, but off stage in his real life too.
That's why I say this like I'm doing a great service, but I'm just trying to help out the people I love. If they say something off stage that's remotely interesting, kind of like what I just said to you, I go, do you talk about it? I would consider talking about that. Because they weren't trying to be a comedian to me just now.
Right.
They were being them, and they were just talking to me. They were having a very organic interaction. And it's like, well, there you go.
And that's because that's I feel like the funny that I'm chasing on stage, and I think I've captured it maybe a few times.
Yeah.
Is just hanging out with your friends or like a girlfriend, and like you're just on, and you're just being yourself, and you're being silly, and you're being funny, and you're being real.
Yeah.
And there have been maybe a few times where I've captured that exact thing on stage, and I feel like that's what I'm always striving for.
That's why I admire, and I've hit it a couple times now, but it's still scary and hard for me as I admire like your Bill Burr and your other whoever that writes on stage.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to do that. They're not, it looks like, and depending on how much they're doing it, they could be wasting the audience's time.
Yeah.
So I try not to do that, but like that is the benefit of writing on stage is you're trying to tap into the most Adam you can be in this moment.
And that's like that's kind of the trade-off, because I do write a lot on stage.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, actually the first time I did a set after the breakup, fully just talked, and it went really well. And it was also this was a week after. This was a week after this, so I had like I think just enough space from it that I was able to like talk about it without crying, and I think, but then I've had times where like I have gone on stage and just tried to talk and it did not work at all.
For sure.
It's like, I feel like just because I'm a huge basketball fan, I always use basketball analogies, but it's like an NBA player that shoots a lot of threes.
Yeah.
You're gonna make a lower percentage.
Yeah.
But when you get it, you're on, it's really good.
Yeah. But you can do that and like we're saying, you can do that in your life. You can just, there's a difference. There's someone you can tell they're running a bit.
Yeah.
And that's
never fun. And that's
not fun.
Even
not fun to be around.
No. And I mean, we hang out with comics. We're around it a lot.
Yeah. And you can sniff it out.
You can tell. Oh my God.
And I love when people call it out. I won't call it out, but I love just be here with us.
Yeah.
And there's a better odds of you coming up with a bit in a hang than you running a bit at a hang.
Yeah, one of the best feelings is when you just say something offhand and somebody goes, write that down.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a great feeling.
Yeah, Sam Evans, who we hung out with at Artichoke, talked to him on the phone a lot. And we were on the phone, and I just said something, and we both looked at each other. We were FaceTiming, and we both looked at each other, and we didn't even have to say it. And I was like, yeah, that's something, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, that's something. And it's like, he didn't call me to come up with a bit. We were just being like, live your life, and there are bits everywhere.
Yeah, well, the Pete Holmes thing that he said on his podcast a lot that I feel like is one of the things that like shaped my like view on being a comedian is as a comedian or any artist, you have to live a life worth commenting on.
Yeah, man.
And so I think it's so because there's this part that is like I have to only be writing and doing mics and doing and like everything dedicated to comedy, but then it's like, but then what are you talking about?
Yes, yeah, yeah. I like my current act is now about being hurt and trying to work on myself and trying to get over the hurt and trying to figure out who I am by myself. And it's like that was just stuff I was trying to do in general.
Yeah.
And then that became the material. I didn't go, you know what? Let's make this next hour about this. It's like it became what it was by me living my life and me writing in the mornings about my life. Not looking for material, just writing.
Just,
journaling because I was going through personal hell. And that's where it comes from. Yeah, when someone like Joe had a kid, of course he's going to have all this kid material.
Yeah, kids are the other one. Kids and breakups seem to be
breakups. And death.
And death, yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing like, we all think that we're being hack if we're talking about something, but it's like, yeah, everyone.
Yeah, well, and those are that's the thing is if it happened to you, you can't be hacked.
No,
I mean, I guess like you can write like a hack joke that's
sure
if it's not original, but it's like you can't be hack if you're talking, and that's part of why I try to be personal because I also I write one-liners and some of them I'm really proud of and I think they're really good, but also some of them I've like then seen a tweet that's like, wow, that's the exact same joke I wrote.
Yeah, and
it's like if I just talk about my own life, nobody's gonna be stealing it.
Right.
Or if they do, like I'll know like that they stole it. But one thing I want to ask you about being a clean comic, like, is there ever times where you're like writing and you're like, I want to say this but I can't?
Every time I've come up with something where I'm like, oh, that's a dirty premise, I've said it to friends, and it bombs.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, can you give an example of one?
I really wish I had a fresh one for you. I don't remember one right now. No, unfortunately, I really would tell it. No, I don't remember. But it's also like just a muscle that I don't really have.
Yeah.
I don't find, and let me be clear, I'm a big Dave Attell fan. I'm a big fan of dirty comedy. I don't find sex interesting or funny when I'm writing. I find it to be the separate thing.
I kind of agree. I have some sex jokes. I feel a little gross talking about it. Yeah. And I always feel like, I think especially if it's like, when I was in a relationship, I'm like, that's like talking about my girlfriend. And that's like,
right.
Well,
like Joe List has a bunch of sex jokes that I find so funny.
Yeah.
There's many, Sarah Silverman.
She's great at it.
I mean, it's just, I've surrendered that I'm not that person. All those jokes make me laugh. But when I'm there I've never been having sex and gone, this is kind of hilarious.
That's funny. I think that's your sex joke.
Maybe that might actually. I would give the audience them if I had them, and I just don't. I don't have them, and nor do the comics that are doing sex jokes talk about brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. So it's like we make up for where the other one's not showing up.
Do you brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand?
I do. I've read that it expands brain activity.
So you do it intentionally?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I jerk off with my non-dominant hands.
Yeah. I do it so it feels like a stranger's brushing my teeth. That might be something.
I think that's something. That was what's that? I was at dinner and I noticed sometimes I'll just like sit on my hands like a little kid, and then I was like, the food came. I was like, I'm sitting on my hands, so it's like someone else is feeding me.
Sarah Silverman has it in her new special.
Oh yeah, she does have that. Her new special is so good.
It's really, a whole special about death.
Exactly, and also from a comic who a lot of times was always great, but was more abstract, and now just being personal. And I think what awesome she's doing is that's kind of what I'm going for, because it has a mix of silly jokes and one-liners in it. And then also very personal stuff that sometimes is not funny and then is hilarious. And sometimes the personal stuff has jokes in it. So, I don't know. Comedy's great.
Comedy's the best thing ever. It really is. If you're doing it and not focusing on the material, I wish a different word. Focusing on the material, not the...
The material meaning the
jokes.
Meaning the jokes, not the material meaning...
Things that...
things that are material.
Things that you're like, whatever. JFL, Netflix,
You done JFL?
That. No. And it's like chasing, getting better and getting closer to who you are on stage and all that, chasing all those things, it only leads to joy, in my opinion. Even if you fail chasing that, you're getting data on how to get closer to it for the next time. And it's like, if you chase all that, if you build it, I hate that it's all cliches, but cliches are very accurate.
And I think in terms of like motivation, I have like a note in my notes app that is just like cliche rap lyrics. It's a lot of Drake. It's just like cliche rap lyrics that like can help to like motivate me.
They're all have an element of truth. If you build it,
that's why it's a cliche.
It's like It's led to so much more joy than when I'm chasing a certain thing. And then you get that thing, by the way, and this is also true and cliche, there's no happiness on the other side of that thing. You got the thing, enjoy yourself that day, because tomorrow's going to suck. Tomorrow you're going to be like, oh, I don't feel any different. And it's because that thing didn't have happiness behind it.
Yeah.
And I know... The 2 late nights I did, I was sad after them, and but during them I felt great.
Well, I think there's a bit of a hangover after any good thing,
any accomplishment.
I remember I used to feel this after. It's a feeling that I'd felt every year when I came home from summer camp. That feeling of the thing I was looking forward to
is over.
Is over.
Yeah.
Like I just got to act in a short film for the first time,
awesome.
And hopefully it comes out and it's great. And I don't know what's gonna happen with it. Now it's out of my control. It's not mine. But
you're doing great already.
But yeah, it was such a cool experience.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I was like felt so depressed, and it's like, wow, that thing I was looking forward to from the moment, but I found out I was gonna be in it to. Yeah. Every single second up until we wrapped shooting.
Yeah.
And like even that night I was still like high from it, but
of course.
And then it was literally like the next few days after I was like, what do I do now?
Until I went through the breakup, I never understood the yin yang symbol. I mean, I understood it, but I never really felt it until, like, the ordering chaos. There's always an element of both in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, accepting that both are always going to be present. And just like in the, you think that if you do this thing and you're like, I'm going to do it like this, and it's going to do this, and this, and you prevent any chaos from existing in it, it's there for you after you're done.
Yeah.
It has to show up. The balance has to come back. So it's just like letting go more. No tight grip on comedy. Like, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is how it's got to be. And just being you and doing and writing. It's so annoying how simple it is, because as simple as it is, we think it must be complicated. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. And I think also, especially in comedy and in life in general, there's no one specific way to have a career as a comedian or anything else. In the same way, there's no one specific way to live a life.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
What's the coolest experience that you've had doing stand-up? What's the thing that you go, wow, I can't believe I did that. That was the coolest shit ever.
I did the arena in Syracuse, and Fallon being on the show. People from my school and like people that I knew me starting out in comedy. I did the arena in my hometown, I saw hockey.
No, it must be. I mean, that's an incredible experience. Like, I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I've never performed there. Yeah. And I'm imagining, what it would be like to perform at the arena in Hershey and to open for somebody that I can't even. I am excited for when I eventually just get to do stand up in my hometown and get to do that thing. It's something I think about a lot. Yeah. And to be able to do that at an arena opening for one of the biggest comics in the world, and then the biggest late night host is right after you.
And I opened for Brian Regan's Netflix on the Rocks.
Oh, the one in Red Rocks?
It was in Tuacahn in Utah, but it looks exactly
like Bill
Red
Burr
Rocks.
filmed a special at Red Rocks.
Yes.
Okay.
But opening for his Netflix special was awesome, wild. And then Brian opened for me on my special.
Wow.
Yeah, Half of We. That's him introducing me.
Wow.
And I remember inviting him to the recording, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to be there. And he came just to watch. And I was like, you sure you don't want to do time? He's like, no. And Peter Wong, do you know Peter?
Yeah, I know Peter, yeah.
One of my best friends.
He's in the end of the special. Yeah. So he opened for you.
Peter was the feature, and we're all hanging out at the club, and Brian's in the hang, and I'm like, you sure you don't want to go up? He's like, no. And then we're all hanging, kind of like Artichoke. And then he looks at me and he goes, 5 minutes? Wow. And I was like, yeah, man.
You're Brian Regan.
Yeah.
You can do 5 minutes.
And then he's like, and I was like, do 10. And then I think he did 12 to 15 each show. And it's like, wow, this guy doesn't need that stage time.
No.
But he loves it. And it's like, that's so beautiful. And then what was cool to me was Peter would typically bring up me, but he would bring up Brian, and watching the crowd go nuts, like, what the hell is he doing here? Just creating that moment for those people.
Yeah.
And them also agreeing that it's a crazy great moment. That's something I'll always remember. I'm like, oh, I made this night a comedy night.
Where'd you tape it?
At the Comedy Fort in Fort Collins, Colorado.
Okay. I've heard very good things about that club.
Awesome club. Big shout out to them and Dave Rodriguez, who runs it and is also a killer comic. Amazing room.
How many shows did you do?
Did 4. We only taped 2. And here's another thing: the best show was not the night we filmed.
Really?
Yeah. So that special came out great, and I'm very proud of it. But that wasn't even the best show of the weekend, which is so funny to me. It's just proof that you're working on a special, creating this body of work, and it's like, yeah, but and then the night that was the best was we weren't filming, and it's like, yeah, what does it matter? None of this matters.
Yeah.
It's just make comedy. Let's just do comedy.
Yeah.
It's the best.
And we got to wrap up.
Sure.
What's your favorite movie?
Oh man, Ace Ventura 2 or Dumb and Dumber, the first one.
Some classics.
Yeah.
And then what comics have you been enjoying lately?
I just watched Joe's special. I love Joe. That's a great special. I went through a Kevin Meaney binge recently. Have you watched Kevin Meaney?
I don't know Kevin Meaney.
Oh my God, so good. Another comic that was closeted.
Yeah.
And came out not to the depth of realism as Gerard, but is it Gerard? Or
Gerard.
Gerard. Jeez, I made it the whitest name.
Mr. Gerard.
Gerard. But Kevin Meaney is just amazing. He's passed away, but an amazing comic. And after he came out, I found him even more funny.
Yeah.
And Sarah Silverman's special.
Yeah, her special.
It was really great.
Yeah.
Trying to watch as much as I can right now.
Yeah. And then anything that you want to plug for the listeners?
Half of We on Nate Land's YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, Steven Rogers Comedy. And then if you're in New York, June 22nd, I'm at Union Hall, and I'm trying to get people to come to that show. So June 22nd, Union Hall.
All right, Steven Rogers, everybody.
Thank you.
For sure.